Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentaries by my worshipful Gurudev, Swami Jyotirmayananda ji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilanand. So let's get started. Today we are going to discuss the mystical meaning of the episode of Kaliya and Lord Krishna subjugating him and freeing him to go in the ocean. So this mystical meaning is very deep, so we will take our time understanding it, absorbing it. We may even have to do 2 satsangs on it, but let's see. So we will give it a try and enjoy our holy satsanga as we evolve. Again, these stories are to be interpreted in a deep way so they enter our hearts and into our life. Unless that happens, they are merely historical tales which most people think they are. But these scriptures are very sacred, very holy, and they guide us in a very mystical and deep way. And that is why we need a guru, a teacher, somebody who knows the mystical insights, because these scriptures do not open up willingly to just anybody. You have to be qualified with devotion, bhakti, and only then a guru can come. Now these lectures, this information that I've been sharing daily is available for so many people, but why only some of you are attracted to it? Because it is your karma, your good fortune, your purity that is attracting you to these high quality satsangas. Whereas the worldly things, there are plenty. In a fish market you will see so many people, but in a high quality diamond shop you will see few selected people who can actually afford it. So this journey of spirituality is a gradual journey, and as we qualify, we get more and more sensitized, we become more sensitive. So let's get started with this beautiful meaning. The woodlands of Vrindavana represent the unconscious realm within the mind of an aspirant, in which there are divine impressions of universal love, purity, contentment, peace, and bliss. So that is our essential nature. We have all this in our chitta. It is the goal of an aspirant to abide in Vrindavan and sport with the divine self forever through the attainment of self-realization or mukti, nirvana. That is our essential goal. That's the meaning of Vrindavan. However, the Yamuna river, which represents the mental process within an individual, has become poisoned due to the presence of Kaliya Nag, the very embodiment of 5 kleshas or afflictions which keep deep in the unconscious. So within our unconscious there are 5 kleshas or 5 problems: ignorance or avidya, egoism or asmita, attachment or raga, hatred or dvesha, and fear of death, abhinivesh. The many hoods of that Kaliya are the klishta vrittis, the impure thought waves of the mind that arise due to the manifold ramifications of those kleshas. Thus the multi-hoods of the snake. So this Kaliya resides within us. That is the mystical meaning, that unless we sublimate it, we will continue to be overpowered by that poison. While Kaliya dwells in the unconscious, he goes on poisoning one's thoughts with lust, anger, hate, greed, manifold egoistic illusions that keep one bound to endless cycles of birth and death. So this is the poison that Kaliya is emitting: our anger, lust, greed, jealousy, hatred, attachments, mine, thine. All are these things that we don't even realize is poison. If the mind were freed of the kleshas, it would become nectarine and lead one to liberation. And thus the journey of a soul towards that path. That is the goal of yoga. That is what integral yoga is all about, our union with God. But how to drive Kaliya out? What to do in order to purify the mind? The story of Kaliya gives this insight. First, let Krishna enter into your unconscious, into our hearts. So the process of divine communication commences. So the first step is we have to go deep within and don't look for God in somewhere high or somewhere in externally. He is residing in the very depths of your own heart. The initial stage of sadhana or spiritual discipline is the awakening of Kaliya, which implies an awareness of your own imperfections. So as we do that, we are now expecting resistance and a fight with Kaliya. So we should be prepared for that. That is not a negative thing. So an awareness of the impurities which lie within our personality. Unless we are aware we have a problem, how can we expect to fix it? If we think we are all perfect and we don't need any evolution, then we will never attain liberation with that attitude. We have to always be hungry and unsatisfied and do more and more with our self-effort. So that awareness that we go through of our limitations is painful. It is not a very pleasant experience. Confronting Kaliya is not easy. When Kaliya is awakened, he becomes angry and tries to stifle Krishna. Resistance comes. Similarly, when we all begin our sadhana and become aware of our impurities, we become terribly agitated because all these things start to surface and show us our mortality, our human element. Initially, the conditioned mind struggles very hard to overpower any force that tries to control it. Why? Because this mind wants to be the master. It is used to its own habits and ways. When a higher power wants to control it, it resists because it has started to enjoy that freedom, that poison, if you will, because that's what it is used to. Just like when somebody has addiction, they start getting addicted to that obviously horrible and painful process, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or anything like that, which most people would consider as very bad, but then their whole body depends on it, comes a time. So much in the same way, these vices have so much taken root in us that we have to remove this addiction. So it tries to extinguish the flame of aspiration. So beware during this time, if the mind wins, we lose. The power of the divine within has to be controlled. That is already there. When we recognize that power and we give it freedom to control the negative in us, then we are overpowering our mind. Otherwise, the mind will overpower us. However, that power does not allow us to do that. The negative power within us, the mind. Krishna has awakened Kaliya. So, although from one standpoint it feels painful, from another standpoint it is required, it is important, it is the only way we will wake up and do something about our human body. He has uncovered the impurities that are hidden within the mind. So that is the thing Krishna has done. He knows that within, deep within, we are seeing so many poisonous problems, this Kaliya, but he remains unaffected by the venom of the ego and other poisonous kleshas. Why? Because Krishna is the soul. He is not affected by raga, dvesha, abhinivesh, klesha, smita, avidya, all these things that are there in human form are not there in the pure self. So we have to now practice austerity to remove these things, because we are humans, but we have a God residing within us and we have to become like Him. In your sadhana, as you continue to persist with satsanga or good association, guidance, and your intensive self-effort, you realize that nothing can stifle your spiritual aspiration. So as you are building these impressions, those of you who are regularly listening to these scriptures and following all the different things we share, which is pure nectar and Vedanta, you are building Shubha Samskaras or positive impressions within your unconscious. So, and then we grow, we evolve. No matter how many impurities we may have, no matter how many negative samskaras exist from previous lives, nothing can stifle it, which means now our journey towards Godhood has started. Once aspiration blooms or unfolds, it will continue to unfold more and more, and it has miraculous power. Even though Kaliya is a mighty serpent, it will not succeed in stifling Krishna, which means if we have Krishna within our hearts and it is awake, then even big problems become small. So with this, we end our satsang for today, and we will continue this mystical meaning in tomorrow's satsang. So as you can see how profound these stories are, how every instance relates to our evolution. This is Swami Nikhilanand. Om Tat Sat.